I'd say how fabulously prepared and presented Donington Park is by the circuit staff here from MSV. The wind is something of a tailwind heading along the start-finish straight and, of course, along the back straight as well. But then you've got a headwind trying to climb the hill. And in cars like the Mag 7, it's quite light. You wouldn't have thought that they'd move around. But in some of the bigger cars that we'll see later on, where weight saving is something of a priority for some of the drivers out there, they may start to feel that wind playing effects on their cars. We've now got the Magnificent Sevens leaving the assembly area. They'll be led round onto the grid, straight onto their green flag warming up lap, and we'll be able to run you through the grid in just a few moments' time. So the MSV Hyundai Ioniq 3 safety car leading around new for this year, Mark. And whilst every effort and continued efforts are going the way of motorsports sustainability, whether that be through fueling, the way the cars are built, the engines, it is nice to see an electric safety.
It is, yeah. I mean, the outgoing manufacturer also supplies some electric safety cars, but I think it's pretty much an all-electric fleet now that's been supplied to the MSV group by Hyundai. So not just here at Donington Park, but all of the MSV circuits, including the Aerodrome and Palmer Sport down there as well. So the car's out on their formation lap, and hopefully then we can battle through a grid for you for our opening race of the day. In qualifying, Stephen Nuttall was the fastest. He managed to put the car on pole position. So it's number 51, Christian Pittard. Sorry, it's Christian Pittard that put the car on pole position. Number 51, Christian Pittard, lines up alongside 81, Johnny Pittard. Row 2 of the grid is 46, Stephen Nuttall, and number 30, Stephen James. Row 4, row 2 of the grid is 46, Stephen Nuttall, and number 30, Stephen James. Row 3 of the grid, 92, Colin Moxon, and 80, Tim Davis, with row 4 being number 68, Andrew Grant, sharing with Robert Singleton. I haven't seen starting drivers come through at all, have you? Alongside number 69, Stephen Collins. Row 5 of the grid, 55, Simon and Mark Lanyon share, and alongside is 9, which is Robert Jones and Stuart Donovan, with row 6 being 39, David White, and number 79, which is the Bells, Nathan and Leo. The 7th row of the grid, 34, Richard Green, and 141, which is Oliver Gemmell. Row 8 of the grid is 36, and the Yeomans, and number 41, which is David Stephen. And the 9th and final row of the grid is number 33, which is Sahid Chatterjee, and 75, which is Stephen Spicer, sharing with James Randall. So that gives you the full grid, Jack, for this first race of the day, and a sprint race. A slightly shorter format for the Gold Arts Magnificent Sevens than the longer 40-minute races with pit stops that we see for other categories.
Yes, so it does make it short and sharp, but it makes everything you do maybe that more valuable, because you've not got as much time to recover from a mistake or a slightly slower pit stop, whatever it may be. But a full Pittard front row, Christian Pittard leading Johnny Pittard. They're just working their way onto the Melbourne Loop now to get the first race of the weekend underway. Looking forward to seeing what Stephen Nuttall can do from the second row of the grid. He wasn't a million miles away from that point. We know how important the aerodynamic assistance is in these Magnificent Sevens. So we'll see as to exactly what the drivers will do to negotiate. The safety car just through. See, it's part of nearly 6.7 of a second quicker, so should be able to try and break away in the lead of the race. So red lights are on the gantry. Safety car peels its way into the pit lane. Rolling start for the Gold Arts Magnificent Sevens. The orange car is Christian Pittard on pole position. It's Johnny Pittard that sits alongside. And as the lights go out, which they do now, it's not a bad start from Johnny Pittard from the outside of the front row of the grid, but the orange car of Christian Pittard is still going to have his nose ahead as they head in towards Redgate Corner for the first time. So it's Pittard from Pittard, still the same order. Christian just ahead of Johnny. Yeah, Stephen Nuttall, I think, got a good sort of first phase of the start. The second phase didn't quite go his way. Heading down towards the old hairpin, the order remains as is. Johnny Pittard coming under a bit of pressure from Stephen Nuttall as they head down towards the old hairpin. They go back up the hill once more. Was that Stephen Collins trying to work his way up through the order as well in the background? But for the moment, Christian Pittard's lead has just extended to a car length or two, mainly because I think Johnny Pittard's playing rear gunner.
Yeah, Stephen Nuttall is trying to get the overlap, though, and see if he could sneak up the inside of Johnny Pittard on the exit of McLean's corner, but couldn't quite make it stick, so they go back to being nose-to-file order once more. Christian Pittard, Johnny Pittard, Stephen Nuttall, the top three just subtly breaking away from the rest of the pack, and as they head now in towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's. Johnny Pittard's looking on the inside line of Christian Pittard. Can he squeeze through? The answer is no. That delays his exit and drops him into the clutches of Stephen Nuttall, who's thinking about having a nibble. But as they head in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin, the top three all still remain in the same order. Stephen James is there in fourth place, and it's Colin Watson fifth, and Tim Davis wraps up the top six. Keep on the brakes for Christian Pittard, left him vulnerable on the exit for Johnny Pittard. He had another look on the running towards the final corner. Stephen Nuttall is watching this all unfold in front of him. I don't think Johnny Pittard meant to go for that move. I think he was defending from Stephen Nuttall and all of a sudden realised that he was late on the brakes. A big dive up the inside, over the line. They go once more in towards Redgate. Stephen Nuttall again, just a little look to that inside, waiting to find the chink in the armour, and now he almost finds it on the run through Redgate. Johnny Pittard with a bit of a moment, delayed Stephen Nuttall, and he escaped away. Down through the train of curves on lap number 2. We've got somebody heading in towards a pit lane, I'm afraid to say, and that is early problems for David White in the number 39 car. Trundles his way down the pit lane. The rest of the field still continuing their way down through the train of curves. The old hairpin starting to clamber up through Schwantz and up towards McLean's is where the race leaders are currently. The order is still the same at the front. It's still the orange car, Christian Pittard, that is leading the way as the tail enders just work their way out of the old hairpin and start to head uphill. Stephen James having got in front of Colin Watson once more. They swapped around on the first lap. They've swapped back again. So those two are fourth and fifth respectively, and in turn are starting to leave the car of Tim Davis in the distance. But those top three are getting very close, aren't they? Another look from Johnny Pittard later on the brakes, heading in towards the chicane, but then gives up all of that momentum on the exit, and all of a sudden here comes Stephen Nuttall, a late look up the inside, later on the brakes as well. Can he get the car slowed down? Yes, he can. Chops across the nose of Johnny Pittard. There was almost contact between the pair of them, but Stephen Nuttall, he had to work hard for it. He's just about got through into second place, but I don't think it'll last long. He's then just having to make sure that he covered off Johnny Pittard to prevent him trying to re-attack as they came in towards Goddard's. Now, these two start to squabble ever more for second and third place. It might just allow Christian Pittard to edge away ever more in the lead of the race, which he has just on the first of the flying laps set the fastest lap, 1 minute 32.475 for our race leader, Christian Pittard. So he's now nearly already a second up the road from Stephen Nuttall and Johnny Pittard. Colin Watson, Stephen James and Tim Davis complete the top six as things currently stand. And for Boss Racing, I think that probably means they've got, 1, 2, 3, 4 cars inside the top 6 and 5 cars inside the top 7, I think, Boss Racer.
As a percentage rate, that's not bad. It's not bad, is it? No. I did mention that Colin Watson and Stephen James had swapped around on the first lap. They'd re-swapped around again. By the time they crossed the line, they'd swapped around once more. So the number 92 of Colin Watson has worked his way up into fourth place. How long that will last, it's anyone's guess. Heading out onto the straight once more on the exit of Coppice, Colin Watson, I think, has started to build that gap with the Boss Racing machine, and I think he's set his sight on the rest of that top three, because Johnny Pittard, having fallen in behind Stephen Nuttall, has just lost that little bit of pace. Stephen Nuttall, he's really pushing on now, trying to close that gap up to race leader Christian Pittard.
There's a good little fight also just heading up towards McLean's at the moment, so between the two green cars, one of which will be the Bells, Nathan and Leo, at the wheel of number 79 car, and the car that they are trying to hunt down, I think, is 141, which will be Oliver Gemmell's car. So the two green cars busy squabbling away. They are in separate classes as well, so it's Class TD and Class TB in reality. Our race leader, though, already back over the start-finish line, up towards Redgate Corner. The lead advantage came down that time through because Stephen Nuttall set the fastest lap of the race that we've seen so far in second place in his pursuit of the race leader, 1 minute 31.781 from Stephen Nuttall. He qualified in a 1 minute 32.6, so he's 9/10 quicker than his qualifying time.
Which makes you think, what happened in qualifying? Was it traffic? Was it a problem with the car? Whatever it is, it has gone away because he's found yet further pace in that car. Ollie Gemmell's continuing to come under pressure from Nathan and Leo Bell's Caterham 310 are out of the final corner. Who will it be that appears first? It will be Ollie Gemmell, but the pair of them, well spotted by these two, are absolutely tied together. both with novice crosses on the back of the car, but it's not taking away from the race couple thing.
Yeah, having good fun, aren't they? So just heading up towards Redgate Corner now as our race leaders are starting to sprint their way past the old exhibition centre and in towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's. 'Twas ever Christian Pittard leading the way. Say, last time through, Stephen Nuttall was the quickest driver out there, did close the gap, but I don't think he's closed it a great deal more. And now very much falling away in third place is Johnny Pittard, isn't he, at the wheel of the black car with the day glow flashes to it. Fair chunk of daylight now between himself and the car that he was right up onto terms with. But down in towards the brake area also for the Melbourne hairpin. We now have still that Colin Watson and Stephen James squabble going on. Colin Watson might have gained the place, as you said, last time through, but he can't escape the grasp of Stephen James in the number 30 car, who is still sitting right behind him, isn't it? It's a white car with more day-glow orange on it for Colin Watson, the white car with lesser day-glow orange on it for Stephen James, number 30.
Yeah, Stephen James starting in fourth place. Obviously, they've traded places a number of times on that opening lap, and now Stephen James really wants it back. Later on the brakes is Colin Watson. That runs him wide in towards Redgate, but he manages to get the car back towards the racing line, cover off any attack from Stephen James, and continues on in which the order they left us. Down through the Craner curves they go. Colin Watson on the brakes in towards the old hairpin, still with Stephen James in tow. That battle is going to go all race long. By way of the top three, they've really spread out, haven't they? It's now the battle for fourth and fifth we need to be watching, and the battle between the Bells and Gemmell for 12th and 13th respectively.
Yes, good squabbles out there on circuit, as you say. Yeah, just starting to evaporate in other areas. Up towards the braking area for Coppice Corner goes the fight for fourth and fifth place. Colin Watson still doing a good job of keeping Stephen James at bay at the moment. Stephen will pick up a bit of a toe as they head down the exhibition straight, and then will work their way through the left and the right flicks at the Fogarty S's. Take as much curb as you can in and out, but be careful not to run wide, otherwise that will hamper your progress. Two of them are still together now as they head in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. Colin Watson takes a slightly defensive line in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Start-finish line will come our race leader, still leading the way. Traffic now starting to play a pivotal role as well. Stephen Nuttall goes through in second place, and third, having to work his way past the traffic. Two back markers busy squabbling away goes Johnny Pittard. And Johnny Pittard's now 5 seconds adrift of the race leader, 3 seconds adrift of Stephen Nuttall up the road. The pace just doesn't seem to be there.
It's not very Johnny Pittard-esque at all, is it? Normally we see these three fighting away tooth and nail right to the end. But yeah, Johnny Pittard clearly not quite bonding with that car and or the Donington Park circuit this afternoon. So the battle you mentioned for fourth place still raging away between Stephen James and Colin Watson. Down the hill they go and towards the old hairpin. Stephen James just needs that extra little bit that he just can't find as of yet. Or does he have it in reserve and he's waiting to deploy that as and when? Back up to the leaders, it is still Christian Pittard just trying to run away from Stephen Nuttall through Coppice. Goes Stephen Nuttall giving chase, and traffic is becoming an ever-present factor in this race. And I think Stephen Nuttall got slightly compromised there. Heading on to the exhibition straight. But for the moment, Christian Pittard's lead, I don't want to say it's safe, but it's secure for now.
Yeah, he's just at the stage now where he could just control that gap, and if he sees it coming down a little bit, I'm sure he could just push that tiny bit more to get it to a level that he's happy with. It was nearly 2 seconds last time through anyway. It's 1.921 seconds between the pair of them. As Stephen Nuttall brought the gap down a little bit this time through. I think he is a little bit closer. Here they come over the start-finish line. 51, the orange car of Christian Pittard leads the way, and what was 1.9 seconds becomes 1.3 seconds. So Stephen Nuttall was that little bit quicker than the race leader last time through. He is edging towards him. He's still just too far away, though, to pick up the all-important toe in these Caterhams, because there's a big old hole in the air that they make, and around about a second back is probably where you'll get the toe. If you're any further than that back, which he is, he's 1.4, not quite in the hole that the car is making ahead of you, so you've got to push even more. We've still also got that fight going on for fourth and fifth, haven't we? Colin Watson and Stephen James as yet. They still haven't worked out who wants to finish where out of those two white and day-glow orange cars.
Down the hill they go once more towards the old hairpin, and it is still just about Colin Watson from Stephen James. The battle you mentioned earlier on as well between the Bells, that being Nathan and Leo Bell, still fighting away with Ollie Gemmell. In what order they are, we'll have to wait for them to arrive. They are still in the same order, and I think they've picked up somebody else to try and battle with as well. That'll be the number 34 of Richard Green. So we've now got 3 cars in different classes, all fighting over their respective places on the circuit, 11th, 12th and 13th, but they are all in different classes, so it doesn't really matter in what order we next see them. On the brakes in towards the Fogarty S's, once more goes Colin Watson, still with Stephen James absolutely breathing down his neck. Onto the Melbourne lead they go. You can't really tie anything between them. Over the line this time, Christian Pittard has massively extended that lead margin. It'll be north of, 2.5, 3 seconds, mainly because he's just set the fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 31.367. That was a good guess, wasn't it? North of 2.5 seconds, just shy of 2.5 seconds. Stephen Nuttall has now fallen away. Johnny Pittard is almost 10 seconds away from the race leader. Not very Johnny Pittard-esque, but over the line goes Colin Watson and Stephen James.
So, yeah, they're still busy fighting away. Stephen James with the black rollover hoop, Colin Watson with the Dayglow rollover hoop. Just behind them is going to be Tim Davis. So they're in 6th position. And then 7th place will be the car of Andrew Grant, who is the driver that's doing this particular race in that one. So Andrew Grant drives a 68 car. Starting drivers have arrived, thanks to Joe from CSCC. Number 9, started by Stuart Donovan. 55 by Mark Lanyon. The car that's having that great little fight is Leo Bell, driving the 79 car. And 75 is started by Stephen Spicer in this race. The other drivers will do race 2. So the start drivers have found their way to us. So our race leader is on, lap number 8 at the moment. It's just heading on to the Melbourne hairpin. Towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's goes that little squabble that we've been concentrating on, which was the car of Oliver Gemmell, who is still coming under pressure from Leo Bell that sits behind. But they are now in the process of being lapped by some of the quicker cars towards the sharp end of this race, whilst also trying to lap cars that are slower than them.
Yeah, it's a busy job, isn't it? Because you want to focus on your race lead, but not be too aggressive to put that race lead at risk. But you do want to be as efficient as you can be through traffic. Thankfully, they've found a bit of space now up at the front. So Christian Pittard over the line. This time has lost a bit of time to Stephen Nuttall. 2.5 seconds, comes back down to 2 as Stephen Nuttall responds with a slightly quicker lap. Followed then by Johnny Pittard, who's now over 10 seconds away from Christian Pittard. Over the line, absolutely tied together are the cars of Colin Watson and Stephen James. Further round the circuit, we've still got that brilliant little battle between Leo Bell and Ollie Gemmell. Ollie Gemmell has now, in fact, got in front of Richard Green. So Richard Green drops to 12th on the road. Leo Bell has got a bit more driving to do if he wants to get through past Richard Green, and then reassociated with that of Ollie Gemmell. Our leaders once again cutting their way on towards the exhibition straight, and it is still going to be Christian Pittard. Has he pulled away yet further from Stephen Nuttall on this lap? I'd say maybe once more. 2.5 seconds became 2. I think Christian Pittard has seen that and pushed on a little bit more on this lap. What of Stephen James and Colin Watson, or Colin Watson and Stephen James? What order will they appear on the exit of the Fogarty S's? On the brakes and into the S's they will go before they arrive at the Melbourne Loop. Traffic has played a part, and they're even closer than we've seen them so far. It is still Colin Watson ahead of Stephen James, just about. They side their way through traffic as one. On the brakes in towards the hairpin, again the order doesn't change around, but Colin Watson, he's been soaking up that pressure all race. You've got to think, will a mistake come now? He has been dealing with that phenomenally white with Dayglow orange car in his rearview mirror all race long. Through the final corner they will go, and onto the start-finish line once again. This has to be the closest we've seen them, Mark.
I think it is, yeah. It's as close as he's been as yet, Stephen James, to try and get himself ahead of the car that he's lost out to earlier on in the race. The two of them break together, turn their way in towards Redgate Corner. There's about catering length between the pair of them as they flip their way in towards the right-hander. Further down through the order, Richard Green is about to be overtaken by Tim Davis. The two cars that we're concentrating on are down through the Crane Occurs in towards the old hairpin. Colin Watson doing a really good job. Takes a slightly wider entry in towards the old hairpin than Stephen James did. It's all about the exit speed, though, and the speed that you can carry up towards the top section of the circuit. But they are so evenly matched that, yeah, there's just absolutely nothing that Stephen James can do about it. So he's still sat behind Colin Watson as they turn their way through Claines up towards Coppice Corner. Colin Watson's been racing in this Magnificent Sevens series for a very, very good number of years. We've seen less of Stephen James racing in it, but the two of them are pretty much identical for pace now. Has Stephen James got an overlap? No, he's still too far away as they head into towards Cockty SS.
Yeah, there was a look there, wasn't there, from Stephen James? But I think when he got a whack in the face, and unfortunately, Richard Green, we saw him fighting away with both Leo Bell and Ollie Gemmell, but Richard Green, whatever's happened up the right hand prior to Coppice, has gone on. He has found himself at quite an odd angle in the gravel as well. That sort of indicates contact, the angle that he's gone in at. After he's tried to correct some oversteer, and the Darty Caterer has decided to follow his word.
Yeah, I think it's probably maybe started to get a wiggle on as he was coming around through Schwantz and was trying to break from McLean's corner, and it just unsettled the car. So he's in the gravel trap there. That's been covered by localised yellows with just under 4 minutes to go. We've still got this fight for 4th and 5th heading up towards Redgate Corner. 'Twas ever Colin Watson, but Stephen James is certainly as close as he's ever been. He's still not quite close enough, though, so they're still going to be in single file order as they head down through the Craner curves. The white car with the Dago rollover hoop is Colin Watson. The white car with the black rollover hoop is that of Stephen James. No issues for either down through the old hairpin, but now, even if Stephen James gets a run, he can't overtake because of those localised yellow flags up at McLean's corner due to Richard Green's car being in the gravel trap.
So almost a run there, I think, for Stephen James on the run through the old hairpin. Just couldn't quite get it to fruition, unfortunately. So he's got at least another lap behind Colin Watson, and the lap is, or the laps are very quickly reducing as the timer continues now to tick through. 3 minutes remaining, so he's running out of opportunities to try and work his way through and past that of Colin Watson and up into 4th place on the brakes and towards the quality S's. They remain as they were, but will that be a good exit from Stephen James? It looked like he got a good middle section of the S's, but all of a sudden on the exit, foot to the floor, Colin Watson disappears up the road. The checker flag has come out early, so Christian Pittard, whereabouts is he? Did he nick through? It's not clicked over on TSL timing, but I'd imagine Christian Pittard has gone through. Yes, he has, so Christian Pittard goes through to what I can only imagine is going to be the win, followed then by Stephen Nuttall. Then it will be Johnny Pittard over the line. I've just watched him come through and take the checker flag, albeit it's not been recognised on TSL timing. As 3rd place, it will be Colin Watson that goes through, take 4th place just about from Stephen James, who will be able to win confirmed finishes in just a few moments' time. Once we've got them as well, of course. Over the line now comes Ollie Gemmell, who was in a brilliant battle with Leo Bell. Leo, unfortunately, just lost that touch towards the end of the race and dropped back to the tune of, 6.7 seconds. We've got a couple more cars we are still expecting. Their arrival, David White, should be the next car to arrive out of the final quarter, followed by Andy Yeomans. Who will it be that appears? David White's Graham Green. It isn't. That is white and blue machine, kind of a 68 in hands of Andrew Grant. He goes over the line to take what is 7th place. There has been some backmarker lappery. David White goes through to take 13th place. We've then just got a couple more to come through, and we can bring some confirmed results to you in just a few moments' time. Now we get over the line Andy Yeomans, who's being chased to the line by Stephen Collins, who actually finishes in 8th place and was only, a few feet away from putting a lap on that of Stephen Collins. And Andy Yeomans, pardon me. And we haven't seen David Stephen take the checkered flag. That's where he has gone through, but it's not been recognised on TSL timing. I think he's just going to be arriving into the final corner now. But with the number 34 machine of Richard Green, unfortunately finding his car deposited in the gravel at McLean's, we had to bring out that checkered flag just a slight bit early. And into the pit lane, it has classified David Stephen now over the line in 41st place. So to bring you through the order in which they finished, it was Christian Pittard that crossed the line at 1.9 seconds clear of Stephen Nuttall. Johnny Pittard, who just seemed to fall away, eventually finishing 23.5 seconds away from Stephen Nuttall, finishes in 3rd place, followed by the number 92 in the hands of Colin Watson, ahead of the number 30 machine. That being in the hands of Stephen James. It was Conor Moretti, Tim Davis finishing in 6th place. 7th place was kind of a 68, that being Andrew Grant, followed then by the number 69 machine of Stephen Collins. In 9th place, it was the number 9 car of Stuart Donovan. 10th place, and rounding out the top 10 car of 55, Simon Lanyon. It was then Ollie Gemmell and Leo Bell in 11th, 12th place, followed by the 13th place, Andy Yeomans in 14th place. In 15th place was car number 41, David Stephen, who did get classified, followed then by car number 33, Suri Chatterjee. And the 17th and final finisher, car number 75, that of Stephen Spicer. I believe we've got Mark Burrell down there in the pit lane.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Yeah, so a quick word with our lights to flag winner, Christian Kittel. That all seems to go perfectly to plan, surely. But for a change, yeah, it did execute to plan. It's very rare, so I'm going to take this moment and savour it, but it actually went to plan. And what helped with that plan was Johnny, with Stephen Nutley, allowed you just get that gap and control the day. If only that had been part of the plan, I'd love to tell you what it was, but yeah, brilliant bit of sibling defence. Took me into the chicane on that one. That wasn't part of the plan. That was definitely not part of the plan, but that's only part one of the day done, because you've got another race to look forward to later on. Absolutely, absolutely. And they're changing the rules so the winner does go on pole for race 2. I have to take a penalty for race 2, so you've got more work to do. Yeah, so it's not going to be straightforward. Donington Park, peaceful week for it. Stunning, absolutely stunning there. I can't believe when these moments come together like this, be very happy and enjoy it. Well done on the win. Good luck for later on this afternoon. Thank you very much. There we go. Let's see if we can grab a quick word with Stephen Nuttall as well, who's just checking the tyre pressures on his car. So we'll just let him do that. We've done it all. You keep doing it all. It's a still wall, so it never stops, as it's a busy racing away. First job he needs to do is.
And then towards the end of the race, getting your way past Johnny and just keeping him where you wanted him.
Yeah. Keep an eye on the rearview mirror. It's always difficult with traffic, but it works. It didn't work in my favour today. I usually get caught out with traffic. I was hoping Christian might endure some of the same, but he did a good job of getting through. So he didn't allow me to close up, and I didn't get a pole particularly, so I didn't give a chance for Johnny to close the line.
And of course, you'll be starting race 2 from pole in reality, because he'll get the penalty and have to start further down the road. Well done. And let's grab a quick word with Johnny Kittel. Johnny, thoroughly enjoyable race that looked to be.
It's got perfect conditions, isn't it? Donington Park GP. It's one of the best circuits in the world, must be. And for a 7, fantastic. Yeah, loved it.
Just talk us through it. You know, you were trying to take the lead of the race away from your brother in the early stages.
Yeah, I should have been a bit more aggressive, I think, in hindsight. He was easing himself into it, and I think I should have pounced and hopefully slowed him up. But he had a huge amount of pace today, and so it might have been a foregone conclusion, but we did our best, and it was great fun. Cars are rocket, and I hope to do better in race 2.
We hope so as well. You did the brotherly thing and played nicely, didn't you, with it in the early stages?
Gloves are off for race 2. Yeah. That's the plan.
Watch this space. There we go. So that's our top 3 drivers from the Gold Arts Magnificent 7. So let's head you back upstairs to Jack, because we've got the World Sports Tin Tops featuring the Puma Cup coming up for you very shortly.